Hello, welcome back to Lenz's Comic Corner, Classics / Non-Classics. This is episode number 194, and Doubleshot number 127. First up is a really big book, Forever Evil, Blight. This book collects the entire, crossover within crossover for Forever Evil. This deals with the supernatural side of Forever Evil. This book collects Justice League Dark, issues 24 to 29. Excuse me. Trinity of Sin, Phantom Stranger, 14 to 17. Constantine, 9 to 12. And Trinity of Sin, number 6 to 9. Now, the writers in here are Jan DeMatteis and Ray Fox. Ray Fox just writes Constantine and Trinity of Sin, Pandora, while Jan DeMatteis writes Justice League Dark and Trinity of Sin, Phantom Stranger. There's one title that really kind of bugs me that was not part of the storyline, and that's Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing is clearly in the story. He has an ongoing series, so why isn't it part of that? That's my only criticism of this particular story, is the fact that Swamp Thing is not allowed to be in this event because Shaw said no or something. I don't know. But there's like a couple of different storylines with this one. One, is the characters fighting the titular character, the titular villain, Blight, who, let's see. Basically, this creature is mainly responsible for the reason why the Crime Syndicate was able to defeat all three Justice Leagues so easily and off-panel. That's the reason why. Because of all the fear. The other thing is basically John Constantine looking for Zatanna and the rest Justice League Dark. So he recruits a new Justice League Dark, which is comprised of Constantine himself, the Frankenstein monster, Night Nurse, Phantom Stranger, Zor-El, and Pandora. Question is part of this briefly, then he just leaves. Deadman's also part of it. Deadman is actually only a person that is John Constantine, who is not sucked into the Firestar Matrix. Besides these two, along with Batman, Catwoman, Cyborg, and Steve Trevor. Yep. Now, basically, the individual story, the individual solo issues, is told from their perspective, basically, of what they want to do. Now, Blight himself is actually defeated toward the end of it, not the very end. The final people who get faced off of this story is Nick Necro and Felix Faust. Yeah, him I was more familiar with than Nick Necro. In my personal experience when it comes to Nick Necro, this particular story is the first time I've ever seen him. Faust, not the first time I'm seeing him at all. Some people might be familiar with him due to his appearances on the show Justice League. And Justice League, I think it was Justice League Unlimited, Justice League Unlimited, and when he showed for that one episode for Constantine, the TV show Constantine live-action version. The artwork in here is really good. Now, there is one character when I initially read the story. Now, they do find they find all these characters, but there's one character a couple characters I was a bit surprised to see in this particular story. One was Shade the Changing Man. Now, I'm sure for some people who have been reading Justice League Dark, no one had seen him since issue 8 when Peter Mulligan, the original writer, left the series, and a cameo appearance by John Constantine Rogue, Papa Midnight. Yeah, he makes a cameo appearance in here, which is surprising. As for the Crime Syndicate themselves, only Ultraman was the only one who actually made an actual appearance in the story. And Deadman didn't show up until like halfway through the story. Of course, at the time, he was trapped in the body of Sea King, who was the Crime Syndicate's version of Aquaman, and he had the appearance of the Aquaman from the 90s, with the fish hook and everything. Madame Xanadu plays a small role in this story, not really a big one. Mainly after this event, the lineup of the Justice League Dark, of course, and they also Constantine has kicked off the team. Pandora and Phantom Stranger and Zor-El basically resign. They're not kicked off the team. They simply just quit the team. and they never show up in the series ever again. Zero later on will continue to appear in the pages of Fantasy Strange before the series ended. Now, what's the fate of all four of these series? Justice League Dark managed to last about 11 more issues and having another annual before it actually was concluded early last year. Constantine would last for about also another 11 issues before it was ended and relaunched as Constantine Hellblazer, and currently the series is published about close to about 7 issues. I think it's 7 issues released so far for this series. Heck, even Swamp Thing is shown for this series. As for Trinity of Sin Pan the Stranger, Trinity of Sin Pandora, they managed to last about 4 more, well, in the case of both of them respectively, 5 more issues, then both series got cancelled and replaced with Trinity of Sin, which that title was cancelled after 6 issues. And yes, I own all 6 issues. Suffice it to say, in my honest opinion about this story, this was a brilliant stroke of genius by the part of DC Comics to do at the time. Jana Mathis and Ray Fox are a great writing duo, and unlike some crossovers DC Comics published over the years, this is one crossover that is a very well-written crossover, and artistically wise, very well too. Nothing else much to say about the story. If you want to know about the Ultraman appearance, he only appears for a couple pages in one of the issues. The only reason why he's there, just to solidify, yeah, this takes place during the events of Fabula. So basically, while Batman and Justice League were taking on the crime syndicate, John Constantine and Justice League Dark were taking on the supernatural forces. That's simply the whole point of it. And of course, Constantine gets kicked out of the House of Mystery at the end of the story, though he gets back in the house with the following storyline. I'm going to give this book an event a rating separately. The book itself, because it collects every single book in order, I give the book itself a 9 out of 10, and I give the event a 9.5 out of 10 for being an exciting event. Okay? Now next up is a book that I'm sure for a lot of people, this because I had Watchmen on episode 25, I think, this book would show up eventually, since this is the other important book that came up back in the 80s. And this year is his 30th anniversary. Batman, The Dark Knight Returns. Not much, this story has been so reviewed to death, basically. A lot of comic fans have reviewed this very storyline. Me, this is my first experience. Written by Frank Miller, with artwork by Claus Johnson and Lynn Varley. Interesting fact about Claus Johnson. This is one of three major stories, 3 major things that Claus Johnson has done in collaboration with Frank Miller. The first such collaboration was when he worked on Frank Miller's run on Daredevil. This is the second one. The third, and last time I could think of where Frank Miller has worked with Claus Johnson was on Batman Year One, which I have reviewed a few episodes prior to this one. Now, this is a very good story. Though, the one thing I gotta say about this thing, I'm not used, because even though I read this thing already a couple times, the style of paneling is something I'm not all that used to. But hey, it came out in the 80s, so I let it slide. Look at this. This is the type of paneling that the book has. This is just the opening page. Not exactly a big spoiler, because the scene was also used as the opening scene for the adaptation of this very series in Dark Knight Returns animated film, which does a very good job of respecting the source material, and the fact that because it was so important, they split into 2 movies, which they later combined to 1, and the movie is about 2.5 hours long. Yeah, it's a long movie, but it's good. Really good. The movie is good, and so is this. Yeah, I know. I'm sure for some people, if they read this, that it'd be kind of difficult to get used to reading the style of paneling. Now, Frank, this is the panel style in here. How the panels are set up in here is very typical Frank Miller. Like if you read Holy Terror, it's the same exact setup of panels. The panels themselves are set up the same exact way as is in here. Now, I know for a fact at least a couple things from this very story have been brought into continuity. One was the dark tone of this thing. The tone itself was definitely brought into the Batman comics and is still there to this very day. The other, of course, is the death of Jason Todd. Yes, the death of Jason Todd. Whose Robert costumes in the Batcave. Now, Dick Grayson himself is referenced in the story. He doesn't show up in the story at all. And I know for a fact that this version of Batman is going to be loosely adapted. Is the version that Ben Affleck is going to play in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Basically, his version of Batman is loosely based upon this one. I'm not saying it's going to be a complete adaptation, but I would say it's a very loose adaptation of the way Frank Miller wrote him in here. Heck, there was even a line from here that they actually used to help announce the movie. And my guess is the fight between Batman and Superman here was probably the inspiration for their fight. Basically, it's probably going to be seen in Batman v Superman when it comes out in a couple months. Because this thing is so good, I'm giving this thing a 9.75 out of 10. Alright? Stay tuned for the next episode, which will be episode 195. I'll decide what type of episode it will be. This is my show. Until then, see you there. Bye.